you can do better, then do better. I ain't sweating you in 100-degree weather with 2 sweaters. I ain't sweating you in 100-degree weather with 2 sweaters. It only works if you do better. Replace the I in team in the me with we. Oh, she like you. Oh, she said she like you. And that she do shit I would never do. But why would I ever do this? Sure, I don't know who thinks for himself. It do not work when you're selfish. It do not work when you're selfish. It cannot work if you're helpless. Maybe days apart and some breathing room. Figure out what's the next move. What's best for you, maybe no good for me. And it's the best sex. It's a movie scene. And your tongue tastes like that cream thing. But she can have you. We ain't mean a thing. I ain't sweating you in 100-degree weather with 2 sweaters. I ain't sweating you in 100-degree weather with 2 sweaters. It only works if you do better. Replace the I and team in the me with we. I ain't sweating you in 100-degree weather with 2 sweaters. I ain't sweating you in 100-degree weather with 2 sweaters.
Hey, ever had a passion for broadcast media radio? Come to Ohio Media School and receive hands-on training from industry professionals in the field of TV, radio, and film. Be a part of our student-ran radio station. Ohio Media School helps grads find job placement prior to receiving their diploma. We have 7 locations, but we're located at 9885 Rockside Road in Valley View, Ohio. Visit us online at beonair.com or call us at 216-242-4342. Ohio Media School. We change lives.
Hello and welcome to Split View with Kramer and Josh on North Coast Underground. We air every Tuesday from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Each episode, we discuss a wide variety of topics ranging from the local news to the national news. We also pick one conspiracy theory to explore each week, and we do it all with our unique personalities on display. So come hang out with us and have a laugh. Pick a side and join in. Now, here's Kramer and Josh with Split View.
Hello and welcome to Split View. And I mean, we're not really on time, but we're closer to on time than usual, I feel like.
Yes.
All right, well, it is 3:07. We're supposed to start this thing at 3 o'clock, but we're on Kramer time around here.
Yes, Kramer time applies to this show, as well as So What's the Catch, which you can listen to by tuning in tomorrow to northcoastunderground.com and going to the All Sports Cleveland tab.
I really feel like the whole world should run on Kramer time.
Yes, but before we continue, I just uploaded the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame episode that we did of So What's the Catch on Anchor last night, so you can go and find that by going to either Spotify, Google Podcasts, or a wide variety of places. I don't think it's on Apple yet.
Well, if you put it on with Anchor, I used to run a podcast through Anchor, and eventually it'll be on like 7 or 8 different platforms.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely go check that out. That was a fun day of recording.
Yes. You can find that by either typing in So What's the Catch, or you can do that by searching the Sports Room, which is like my brand, and the T is capitalized, the S is capitalized, and the R is capitalized, and Sports Room is all one word.
Groovy. Well, this is Split View. I have a hard time saying that. I love these new microphones, though. I gotta say that. Like, these new microphones are awesome.
Yes,
but
they are.
Anyways, we are here doing Split View. Josh and I, we do this thing every week here from North Coast Underground, and we usually start off by talking about our past week. So, Josh, how you been?
I've been good. You and I both had our formal graduation ceremony.
Yeah, Friday was graduation. It's been about a month since we graduated, but that was the actual commencement.
Hey, did you get the gift my mom gave you, by the way?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was kind of letting you have your time first. But yeah, a lot of interesting things happened.
Yeah.
So, but overall, how was your experience?
Since I'm in the sports emphasis program right now, the graduation ceremony, it was nice. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it kind of felt like I was just going through the motions a little bit.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're still going to school here.
Right. And I don't want to discredit the ceremony in any way or say, oh, I didn't like graduation or anything like that. I certainly did.
No, I mean, that just makes sense. If you're still going to school here, I mean, you're going to end up doing a whole nother ceremony eventually.
Right. Where I'm going to be the only graduate because Brian and Gino started the enrolled in the sports emphasis before I did. So obviously they'll be done and graduate before me.
Makes sense.
So yeah.
Well, I went and brought Jane and my sister, and we did meet your parents, who, first of all, first thing I noticed right off the bat, your parents were a lot younger than I've always kind of pictured them in my head.
Yeah.
They just kind of came up and like introduced themselves, and for a second I didn't realize who they were. They started talking about you, and I put two and two together. They got me a gift, which was really nice of them. It was this cup that says Split View on it, which I have at home. I've already used a couple times. That was really cool, and I appreciate that a lot. And just getting to meet them was cool. Overall, the ceremony, it was a ceremony. I mean, I'm not usually one for ceremonies.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, I'm awkward around people, and I think this throws people off a lot because they listen to me on the radio and they hear like my personality and think, oh, this dude's probably like somebody who likes to be around people, but I really don't. You know, I am a quiet, kind of shy person outside of a radio studio. When I get in front of a mic, that's kind of what I save everything for. Kramer is almost a different person than Jeremy is. You know, Jeremy is the outside person. Kramer is what comes in and does the radio stuff.
I have noticed that, like, that when we first started the program way back in March, you did not want to, like, open up to James and myself and the other people in the program right away. It took you a little bit of time. I did notice that.
Yeah, generally I don't open up to people at all unless you have a mic in front of me, and then I just kind of become a different person. I become Kramer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is kind of what was going on there. It was real nice to meet your parents. One of our teachers who teaches virtually and does it from Chicago, Nicole, she came out and was actually here present for the ceremony. I think she flew in and left like the same day.
Well, did she? Because I thought I saw a picture that like she went out to dinner.
Oh, they went out to Melt that night, but I think she left right after that.
Right. Oh.
But either way, like, it was just, I thought it was cool. Obviously, that wouldn't have been easy to do, you know, do a flight to Cleveland just to come for that.
Yeah. By the way, my mom actually made that cup.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a cool cup. But anywho, other than all that, it's been a crazy week in the news. And we're going to get into all that. On this show, we usually start off kind of informal, and then when we come back, we'll get into U.S. news. And the big story this past week was the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. We've talked about that before, and a verdict came down, so we'll update on that. And then there was some situations that kind of happened after that, which some are saying connected. There was a Christmas parade massacre, and it's really sad news, but I feel like we kind of got to talk about it because it's everywhere right now. So we'll come back with all that. Here in a second, we're going to take a break, and when we take breaks here on Split View, we do not play normal commercials. We play local bands because we always like to kind of promote local musicians. This time you're going to be hearing the big news, Stuck in 96. But before we do that, I like to segue into our first commercial break with personality questions.
Okay.
So today's, I got 3, I think. I think we're going to do 3 of these.
All right. Sounds good.
What is the greatest obstacle you're facing right now?
Oh.
And because I'm the one who picks the questions and had a little bit of time to think about them, I'll usually answer first, give Josh time to think.
Yeah.
But for me, it was real easy just to say my greatest obstacle right now is figuring out what I want to do next. Because we just graduated, and I'm working very much part-time right now in the industry through a street team with ESPN, but that's like a couple times a month at most. And obviously, like in a perfect world, I want to go and be on air somewhere. I want to do my own show. I want to do this kind of stuff, but get paid for it. But it's not that easy, you know.
No, it's not.
So I'm taking the steps, like one little step at a time, trying to figure out what I'm doing next. And I think that's my biggest obstacle right now because there's no clear answer. It's all kind of on me figuring it out.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with you on that. I would probably share the same answer. There are a couple of other pathways I could go, but I think I'm going to stick with the same answer.
Right on. Next question I thought was interesting. How do you like to waste, quote unquote, your time? And me personally, I don't think anything I do is really a waste of time. Everything I do somehow benefits me. But just for the question, I could say reading has been something lately. I got this book a buddy of mine gave me, and it's a book from the 60s that Hunter Thompson wrote, and it's called Hell's Angels, and it's about the biker group, but like the really early history of it.
Oh, that actually sounds fascinating.
Now, I love this book so much. I was dragging it out. Like, I could have read this book in 2 or 3 days, but instead I was reading like 5 pages a night, and I made it last like a month. And I just finished it the other night. I'm really bummed out about it because now I don't have anything to read.
Oh.
But yeah, I kind of like to read to waste my time, I guess.
Do you prefer to actually read the book, or do you prefer to listen to like an audiobook?
Oh, I 100% prefer to read it. 100%. And it's kind of funny because my eyesight is getting kind of bad. I've had this issue when I was born that like I couldn't see as good out of one eye as I did the other eye. But it wasn't enough of an issue I needed glasses. Well, but the older I've gotten and the more I read, the eyes have started to compensate for each other. And now it's getting like blurry in both eyes. So I might eventually like need audiobooks. Honestly, what I probably need is to go get like a LASIK surgery. But I'm always kind of freaked out by medical stuff. Like I'll put it off as long as I can.
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel the same way, but I actually prefer audiobooks because I think that's partially because like I can't stay still and like actually sit down and like look at the text because sometimes does this ever happen to you where like you're trying to read but it feels like the words on the pages are like moving or
Oh yeah. I also get car sick, and like when I was younger especially, and I didn't drive myself yet, I would read a lot in the car, and I used to always get car sick from reading, and people would always say like, oh, try audiobooks, but for some reason like it just was never the same to me. But I do understand your reasons.
Yeah, I just prefer audiobooks because then like you can be like multitasking and doing something else while still listening.
And I am generally somebody who loves multitasking.
Yeah.
Last question for the personality test. What is the ritual that helps to calm you down?
Ooh.
For me, it's pretty easy on this. Guitar playing. That's for me lately, that's been almost like a meditative thing I can do. Where when I play guitar and I'm following along on this app and I'm taking lessons and learning, I'm not thinking about anything else. And normally, no matter what I'm doing, my mind's racing. Even right now. It's racing. I'm thinking about everything I got to do later today, stuff coming up later on in the week. I always have like multiple thoughts going, and that's part of like my OCD habits going on.
Yeah, I get that.
But when I sit down and play guitar, it quiets that down. And it's the one, like when I play guitar, I can just focus on playing guitar. And so a lot of times when I'm stressed out, I'll just pick it up, play for a couple hours, and by the time I put it down, I feel completely different.
So when you go to play, do you ever... Sorry. Sometimes my mouth gets ahead of my brain. When you go to play in a situation like that, do you just try and strum out like random chords and put them together, or are you trying to play like an actual song? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, and this goes back to that app I keep talking about. It's Musician, and hopefully these people will listen to me like pimping their app and help me out somehow. But anyway, Musician, Y-O-Musician, and this app, it has lessons, and it gives you full songs, and it'll teach you something, like teach you how to play. The things I'm working on right now is like long legato, it's a hard word to say, licks, which is like lead guitar, groupings of notes that you can play fast and kind of make it sound good. And then it'll give you songs that have examples of that and try to teach you those songs. And you can do it in 2 different modes. They have a practice mode where you can slow the song down and kind of learn it. And then you can go into perform mode where it listens to you play and tells you if you're right or not. So this app has like really changed the way I play guitar. In the past, I probably would have just picked it up, strummed a little bit, tried to find a song, because there's a few songs I know off the top of my head. But eventually, like after a half hour doing that, you get bored, or at least I got bored.
Yeah.
And this app has it to where I can keep learning stuff and doing different stuff for hours.
See, that's where you and I are a little bit different, but also the same in that I do need to get back into guitar. I don't know why I haven't picked it up in a while. I should. But I just kind of enjoy like putting chords together and seeing if, because that just kind of gives me some enjoyment where it's like, oh, I like the sound of that, and then you go to another chord, it's like, no, I don't think that sounded right. So, like,
I mean, I definitely have enjoyed learning new stuff and then being able to incorporate that stuff into like my own music.
Yeah.
So I do get that.
Yeah.
A little bit more control over that when you're doing that.
Sure, but I also do enjoy like trying to play a full song. I just tried looking up Musician on the Apple App Store, and I did not see it.
Might not be on Apple. I got it off Google Play.
Oh.
I have a different, I don't do the iPhone.
Google Play.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if you're spelling it. It's Youscian.
Oh, that might be why.
Yeah, if you didn't spell it right, that could be the other issue.
Youscian?
Yes, sir.
Got it.
But yeah, and this app is really cool. Anybody who plays guitar out there should definitely check this app out. I would recommend it 10 times out of 10. Well, we're going to hit this break real quick, and you're going to listen to the big news, Stuck in 96. Let's see, in 1996, I was 8 years old, so I'm kind of glad we're not stuck in 96. That were rough times for me.
That was 1 year before I was born.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, anyways, on that, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back.
See ya.
I don't know what I would do.
You're listening to Split View, and we will be right back.
From the mic stand to the rock band, we've got all your underground hits right here on the NorthCoastUnderground.com, where the underground starts with you.
Rock'n'roll killed himself in 1994 in the greenhouse above the garage. Nothing moved in to take its place. Now we're stuck in 96.
welcome back to Split View with Kramer and Josh.
Hello and welcome back to today's edition of Split View. It is November 23rd, 2021.
Which means it is Thanksgiving week, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Yes, sir. What are your plans for Thanksgiving? Does your parents do stuff?
Yes, normally we go over to my aunt's house for Thanksgiving, but due to my grandma being in a compromised position, I'll say, we had to adjust. And you all right over there?
Yeah, just kicked over the computer. Right, not a good idea. But everything's still working, surprisingly.
Okay. So we moved Thanksgiving to my house, and, we're doing it kind of potluck style, and I think that's what typically everybody does for Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Growing up, we used to always go to my grandma's house, like, when I was a kid, and that's what we would do. Everybody from the family bring different stuff.
Yeah. And we're going to do a giant ping pong tournament because everyone on my dad's side is really into ping pong, except me.
I never really I couldn't get into ping pong. Believe it or not, and this always surprises people, in a couple of the jails I was at, they had ping pong tables.
Oh, really?
Prison. Well, when you go to prison, and prison's a lot different than county jail. I got to explain this to people a lot. County jail is a lot more like locked down. You're in a cell. You don't have anything to do. When you go to prison, they try to give you things to do because they have so many people there who are going to be there for 20, 30 years, and they need to find a way to live, So they do try to give you some things, and they have a gym there. So when you go to your prison, you can go to a gym, and the gym will usually have a ping pong table in it. So a lot of people go to prison and end up just becoming like ping pong champions.
Yeah. So it's really competitive. Like my cousin Aaron makes an official bracket. There's a literal trophy. It's called the Turkey Bowl, and it usually comes down to my cousin Aaron, my uncle Mike. Sometimes my dad gets all the way to the finals. But I'm always been more into air hockey. That's always been my thing. But
there's one. I was just sitting here trying to think of like other things like that. Air hockey's definitely one.
I always loved air hockey.
For me, it was what's the one with the bags? Cornhole.
Oh, cornhole, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually something else we had in prison. They would have that in the recreation area, and you could pull that out on nice days. But that was something I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, I like cornhole.
The only other thing would be like backyard football, which is popular for some families.
But air hockey has always been my thing, but for some reason, like, I was never able to really get an air hockey tournament going, probably because
you're the only one that plays it.
Yeah, not even that. Like, most of the other members of my dad's side of the family don't really have air hockey tables. We're the only ones that do. So in the times that I've been able to, I've made an air hockey tournament. Coincidentally enough, I won. So because the air hockey or the Thanksgiving this year is at our house, I have to defend my air hockey tournament title.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I called it the Gobbler Bowl.
The Gobbler Bowl, I love it.
Yeah, the ping pong tournament title is actually the Turkey Bowl.
Well, when I was younger, like I said, we used to go and do the family stuff. The older I got, the more I drifted away from that, especially like when I was in and out of my addiction in prison, obviously. More recently, my family consists of Jane and our side of things. Jane works on holidays. As a store manager, she's the only one that can work, so she is going to be working till 6 o'clock on Thanksgiving. So instead of us doing something, I'm actually going to be going to her mother's house. And we've been together for 10 years. If this is like our first year of being together, I feel like that would be kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to know their family pretty good, and I don't mind. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I'm actually going to talk about something that I've been a little bit reserved about, and I think you know where this is going, but, Thanksgiving's always a time when, like, families get together and make, like, significant others and all that. Well, for the most part, this is more applies to my mom's side of the family than my dad's side, but it's awkward, and I guess this is where, jealousy comes into play a little bit, but it's like, when you're the only, basically the only member of your family that isn't in any type of significant relationship, like isn't married, doesn't have a girlfriend or boyfriend, what have you, and you look around and you see like everybody else does.
I get that. I mean, the holidays especially, because that's kind of a time where people are showing off, almost.
Yeah.
The one thing to remember during that, though, is that there's a couple things. The first one is you never know what somebody's relationship is actually like behind closed doors, right? Just because you see two people and they're smiling and they're happy and everything seems great, I mean, you don't know what kind of work they put in, what kind of things they go through.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing. Just remember, it might look like a perfect situation. Doesn't necessarily mean it is. And then the other thing is, I know it's hard, but you can't compare yourself to other people. When you are a completely different person, you've had different experiences, you've grown up different. And I have complete faith that you will eventually meet somebody, but it's going to happen on its own time. You can't rush things like that.
Yeah, I know. And I totally get that.
But but saying all that, I also get where you're coming from, and I don't think I should minimize that. Like,
right. It's strange for me, like, to be like, everybody else has, like, a significant other, or they're married, and I'm here with no one.
I mean, maybe use that as a reason to keep just trying. I mean, keep reaching out. Usually, like, for me, I had to go through a lot of heartbreak and situations that didn't seem great at the time to lead me to where I'm at now. I never would have met Jane if a bunch of other stuff hadn't happened first. That all kind of was bummer at the time. But I'm just saying, like, you never know where life is going to lead you.
Right. I understand that. And I know that, everything's going to happen when it's supposed to, whether that's because of God or...
But it's easy for people to say that, and when you're living it, I think it's a lot harder to accept that.
Yeah, it's like everybody around you saying like, "Oh, don't compare yourself to every other person in your family, and it's all gonna happen on its own time, and everything's gonna work out the way it's supposed to." And I get it, and I'm not trying to dismiss that, but
you don't really want to hear it either.
Right? It's like at the same time. Just in general, even when it's not the holidays, like my dad's side of the family, we get together many times out throughout the year. Pretty much, it feels like almost every Sunday. And at times it just gets hard. So
I mean, you're in your 20s, and I think it's natural that any guys in their 20s want to be in a relationship. And I don't dismiss anything you're saying. I think it was brave of you to bring that up, and there's a lot of other people who deal with things that are similar and can kind of tell you their experiences. I just hope that you keep trying to put yourself out there, because I do feel like eventually you will meet somebody who is the same as you.
Yeah.
It takes time. And actually, that's not even really right. Because Jane and I are complete opposites. Like, sometimes you're going to meet somebody and think, I don't know how this is the person for me, but it is. So just keep yourself open. Keep yourself, I don't even know what to say, man. Just keep yourself open to the world.
You know what I like about this show is, I don't think, like, if I wasn't so comfortable talking with you about this, like, whether it was on mic or off mic, and if you and I hadn't developed, like, this relationship, if you will, obviously not the same as you and Jane, but
friendship,
yeah. I don't think I would be opening up, like, saying something like that, or some of the other stuff I've talked to you about, whether it's on mic or off mic. So I am actually very appreciative of that from you, so thanks a bunch.
I enjoy our friendship as well. And we got some really good pictures together on graduation. I'm going to have to try to get posted on our Facebook. But, I just...
Because you've opened up to me about some stuff that maybe you weren't comfortable opening up about. So I appreciate that as well.
And when I tell you about the two different sides of myself, like Jeremy and Kramer, I use the radio almost as like a form of therapy. And I think people like that. They relate to that. A lot of people out there in the world live their everyday normal life, and they have feelings that they hide because they don't have any kind of outlet like this to talk about it. We have this cool thing where we can come on here and just talk. And I think there's this fear a lot of people have of looking silly or just humiliating yourself that kind of makes a lot of people want to be more reserved and hold back. But when you do that, people notice that almost. And I know for me, if I'm listening to an entertainer, I can tell the difference between somebody who's being honest with me and somebody who's just putting on an act. And the honest person is the person I'm going to gravitate more towards.
Yeah.
So when I get you talking about stuff like this, it's never to embarrass you, but because I think it helps to get other people to relate to you.
Yeah, and you were saying this before the show started, like, being honest and is what listeners enjoy, and they want to hear, like, the real you.
That's what I believe.
They don't want to hear, like, somebody, like you said, that's putting on a total show and trying to act like somebody they're not.
I mean, and I can take an example, too. You see people a lot nowadays who are like, they think they're like these big bad rappers or something, and they go out and they make all these songs, and they're talking about these things that they do, and they're gangsters and this and that, and a lot of them are just like totally normal people living at home with their parents, and it's just another situation where the more real you are, people are going to relate to that.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're starting to kind of come around to that.
Right. You know what's interesting, and I'm enjoying this conversation, is a lot of the times we've talked about like Food Network competition shows before, and I will tie it back in, but like when the host asks the chef to like introduce themselves to the judges and all that, some sort of sob story always seems to come out, like
almost always. Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't just stop at like Food Network competition shows, like any type of competition show, really. It feels like there's some type of sob story that goes along with it.
I've noticed that as well. I've talked to Jane about that, how it seems like almost they're doing that to try to, gain favor.
Yeah. Or like with Undercover Boss, where it's always like, my brother's in the hospital and I've been homeless, and I'm like...
And it just so happens that that's the person they're talking to,
Right.
Oh, it just is a coincidence that this one person you found...
Right, like total coincidence.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like, that doesn't always... I enjoy Undercover Boss, but sometimes I question...
I like the idea of the show, but anytime I've watched it, that's my issue with it, it ends up feeling fake.
Yeah, you question the authenticity.
Yeah, and that's with a lot of reality TV.
Yeah, that's why I don't really watch reality TV shows, because it just feels so forced, and you're like, there's no way some of this stuff is actually real.
I think you used a real good word there, though, authenticity, and I think that's what people are looking for. And even just going back to the analogy I was using about like somebody who thinks they're a rapper. So if you're just like a normal geeky dude, you can go out and pretend like you're this gangster and try to rap about that, or you could be honest and just rap about what you know and be somebody like Eminem, who maybe you're not a gangster, but maybe you have other experiences and you rap about those, and you can become more famous and appreciated for doing that because you're showing authenticity.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing kind of crosses over into what we're doing, that authenticity is important.
100%.
Getting back into U.S. news, that was fun. I do appreciate that conversation.
I appreciated that conversation. It felt very real.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. But somebody who has been accused of not being so real and maybe showing some crocodile tears during his trial.
Crocodile tears?
Yeah, that's what they say. Actually, Webster's Dictionary, I feel like, almost kind of took a slap at Kyle Rittenhouse, because the other day they officially put crocodile tears in their dictionary. It seemed kind of random that that's what happened right now. But what that means is somebody faking tears. And it has something to do with people used to think that crocodiles would cry, but it was just the water that was coming off their face.
That's the first time I've ever heard that expression.
I've heard it a few times. It's not real. It's like a southern thing. Anywho, Kyle Rittenhouse was officially acquitted of all charges. And there's a lot of feelings on this on both sides of things, and it's real hard to separate out some of the emotion from it. Because when it comes to the rule of law and what he was charged with, and the actual facts of this case, it can be made an argument that he was innocent and that he was acting on self-defense. But I think the problem a lot of people had is that they felt like if this had been a black man instead of a white man that was walking around with a machine gun during a protest, he probably would have been killed. They're not going to take the time to arrest him and could you please they're probably just going to shoot him and be done with it. So there was a lot of, it seemed like you saw the difference in how people are treated during this case.
Yeah, I understand that.
And a lot of people are angry over that.
Oh, how can you not be angry with that? Why is there, I guess...
double standard.
Yes, double standard. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people on the right and conservatives, though, have kind of taken this as a hero of theirs now. This is their guy. And to show this, the other day, Kyle Rittenhouse did an interview with Fox News, Tucker Carlson show. And this is a giant right-wing blowhard who goes out there on TV every day and just talks crap. But anyways, he did his first interview since being acquitted with this dude, and he kind of goes on to slam not only the prosecutor, but also his own lawyers who just helped him beat this case. During the interview, Fox News, the host Tucker, is just all over this kid. He calls him a sweet kid, and he says he's shocked to hear about these substandard living conditions he had to go through in jail, which, newsflash, Tucker Carlson, that's anybody in jail.
So you feel like Tucker Carlson was pretty much sucking up to him?
Oh, 100%. And during this hour-long interview, Rittenhouse offered sharp words for his former attorneys. He accused of them using him to raise money for their own political agendas, and they are currently fighting over the $2 million bail that was posted for the teen in November 2020. So he has all these issues with his former attorney, and he still could be facing civil justice, where the family of the people he shot could take him to court and sue him and get a lot of money out of him. So he's not out of the woods yet, but he's not going to be going to jail.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't really follow the whole case too much, so...
Yeah, we were breaking this down a little bit off mic, that what it was there was a... I don't even remember the case that this all originated from. I think I remember the name, Jacob Blake, but it had something to do with one of these cases where there's a black man in a situation with police where he's treated unfairly. And what happened was they decided not to prosecute the cops in this incident. So there was all these Black Lives Matters, started off as peaceful protests and kind of turned into riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Well, during this, there were people posting online, business owners from Kenosha, saying we need people to come down here and protect us. Kyle Rittenhouse, who is 17 years old, reads this and decides to get his AR pistol, his AR-17, or whatever it was a automatic weapon, and took it down. And he ended up shooting and killing two different people, and I think he shot a third or fourth person. So these were the charges he was facing.
Gotcha.
Now, the people that he shot were actually attacking him. They were jumping him. And the one guy actually had a pistol pointed at him. So this is where the self-defense argument kind of comes in place. But then there's the flip side of it of, obviously, as a white kid, he was treated differently. So yeah, just like I said from the start, this is a hard issue to tackle. There's no real right or wrong answers, and it's not real black or white, I don't think. But a lot of people are angry about this, and it's carrying over. And there's been this kind of anger permeating the air lately. I don't know if you can feel it, but it just seems like a lot of people are just angry with each other in general lately.
It does feel that way. You're right.
And I felt this a lot when we were still in class. How many arguments did we have with people over the dumbest stuff?
Oh, good Lord.
And it just seems like people are just in this mood lately to argue.
It does. You're right.
And stuff like this definitely doesn't help it. And now, because of this, or maybe because of this, maybe not, the news isn't 100% out yet, but there's a possibility there's a connection with this and another new tragedy that happened over the weekend. As Daryl Brooks, a black man who lived in Waukesha, Wisconsin, he was arrested after he drove through a Christmas parade while fleeing a domestic dispute and ended up hitting and killing 5 people who were all white. And there's a lot of speculation that the man, who was a hardcore BLM supporter and posted a lot about how he hated white people on his Facebook, there's a lot of speculation that he did this in response to the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Regardless of what it was for, why it happened, though, it's a real sad story. The parade involved a group called Dancing Grannies. And it was all like 70 or 80-year-old women who were dancing, and 3 of the people who were killed were from that group.
Dancing Grannies.
Yeah, so real sad. I mean, not only did he hit a Christmas parade, he hit Dancing Grannies. I mean, dude.
What are you doing?
I know, it's horrible. And it's really a tale about a failure of the system. And the reason is, this dude who did this, a couple weeks before this, was arrested, okay? And when he was arrested because that same car, the exact same car he used and tried to run over his girlfriend. So they arrest him for this. And then they say that the jail's too full. They don't have any room for him, so they let him out on a $1,000 cash bond on November 11th instead of keeping him in jail. And 10 days later, this is what he does.
Jeez.
So this is just another one of those cases. This happens a lot where they let the wrong person go, and he went right back out and did something even worse.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, this guy was actually a SoundCloud rapper who thought that he was a tough gangster. He said that he's a Blood. Interestingly enough, some famous Blood rappers have since come out to say that he was not. But either way, he thought he was, and he was a rapper and all this and that. But the anger and the hatred that has been going around lately just kind of seemed to finally put itself into this act of terrorism.
Yep.
And it scares me to think that more stuff like this could keep happening.
It seems, I hate to say it, but it does seem inevitable that stuff like this is going to keep happening. That's just the world we're living in, or not even
feels like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say the world necessarily, or I guess you could argue that, but I would say more the society. Whether that's because of the previous president that we had and his divisiveness, I think that's...
Yeah, and I don't think that helped it at all.
No. Maybe, perhaps that's what started the whole fire and just brought it to the forefront, or maybe that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Either way, no matter what, now that we're in this position, I don't think there's any escaping it, if you will.
No, but people are still trying, and in another situation that happened today, New York City Hall has decided to remove their Thomas Jefferson statue. They had a big, giant Thomas Jefferson statue, and the reason they removed this is because the founder and 3rd president is well known for having slaves. And it's one of these situations where we're at least trying to make things right, and it's nice. I wanted to at least end on this note, because it's nice to know that at least we're still trying, but it does feel like the divisiveness is just there's too much of a division for us to figure out how to get back together.
Right.
It feels like, obviously I wasn't alive for this, but in my mind, I feel like we're living in 1860, right before the Civil War started.
I hadn't even thought about it like that, but now that you're saying it, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, we have definitely ran late. Like, this is supposed to be a 15-minute segment. We've gone like 25. But...
hey, we were having a good conversation.
We were having a roll. That happens sometimes on this show.
Yeah.
So we're going to take another quick break. This time you're going to listen to the Howard Brothers Band do Go a Little Faster, which is kind of funny, because that's what we need to be doing. And we're going to come right back and kind of hit some quick local news, including a story where a mother lost custody of her children after her attorney forged court documents. But we'll get through that quick and then hit our conspiracy theory for the week, which has to do with somebody who's on trial right now. And I'm just going to leave it at that. It's going to be an interesting one. But we will be
right back.
You're listening to Split View, and we will be right back.
Whether you're in the car or hanging with the crew, keep it locked on the NorthCoastUnderground.com. The Underground starts with you.
baby, and I got no place to go. Go a little faster. Come on, baby, now you're going too slow. Go a little faster. Come on, baby, now you're going too slow. Go a little faster. Come on, baby, now you're going too slow. Go a little faster. Come on, baby, now you're going too slow. Staring at your bumper, baby, and I got no place to go. Go a little faster.
Welcome back to Split View with Kramer and Josh.
Hello and welcome back.
Split View. And we're going to run through a quick version of some local news. Josh, I know you sent me a few stories. You're actually just talking about it. I forgot what they were, though.
So one of them was Cleveland City Council approves tax incentives for new apartments of Meyer Grocery Store and Meyer Grocery Store development in Fairfax neighborhood. So the Cleveland City Council on Monday approved an estimated $2.36 million worth tax incentives for a developer who plans to build a Meyer Grocery Store and new apartment south of the Cleveland Clinic's main campus. Council voted to grant 30 years worth of tax increment financing perks to the Orange-based Fairmount Properties, which plans to build more than 190 market-rate apartments, the 40,000 square foot grocery store, and a parking garage on a 2.9-acre site east 105th and Cedar Avenue. This is near the north end of the newly completed Opportunity Corridor. Yes, I just read the first two paragraphs of the article.
Well, that's news places to live out in Cleveland, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. And then the other story is the Cleveland Metro Parks get $985,000 grant to design proposed East Side Shoreline Park. So it says the Cleveland Metro Parks has been awarded a $985,000 grant to help design 79 acres of park area along the Lake Erie shoreline. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, so NOAA, and the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation awarded the grant through the National Coastal Resilience Fund, according to a Friday news release from U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown.
I mean, that's kind of cool. I can say that out of anything, like, locally, my favorite thing about living here is definitely the Metro Parks.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Well, my stories of what's going on locally. A mother had lost custody after an attorney forged court documents, prosecutors say. 31-year-old Cuyahoga County attorney has been indicted after prosecutors say that he forged juvenile court documents that caused a mother to temporarily lose custody of her child. And I thought this story was interesting because anytime you go to court and you put your trust in an attorney, you expect them to do the right and at least legal thing. Apparently that was not the case in this time.
Yeah, you would think.
Charges all stem from an August 8th court hearing in a custody battle. The court initiated an investigation into the veracity of a journal entry presented by the lawyer after a mother alleged that it was false, the prosecutor's office said. The investigators showed that the lawyer forged and filed false documents with the Ohio Supreme Court and the Juvenile Division of the Cuyahoga Court. Porter will be arraigned at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center at another time, but has already been released on bail. So yeah, I just thought this was not only a situation that shows some of the things that can go wrong when you put your faith in an attorney, but I feel like it also shows the discrepancy of the way people are treated when you get into the legal system.
Agreed.
This guy's a lawyer. He obviously had some money. He was obviously respected locally. So he gets these charges, and the charges are pretty rough when you actually look at what all he got filed. Kidnapping, interference with custody, 22 counts each of forgery and tampering with records. These are all high-end felonies. But he got released on an OR bond, which means no money, sign your name, you get out. And it's just another case where the people who are favored by this system get treated favorably.
Gotcha. Like the favorite, it's almost like they're the favorite child.
Most definitely. Another guy who is not going to get bond, because this is more of the everyday type of criminal. A man robbed the Shelby PNC Bank and was a brilliant escape plan because he left on a bicycle. Yes, to this morning, this is actually this morning around 9:07 a.m. at the PNC Bank on North Gamble Street in Shelby. The man, who was approximately 5'7" to 6 feet tall and weighed around 160 pounds, passed a note to the teller demanding cash, but no weapons were shown and no threats were made, which is actually important because if you have weapons or make a threat, it becomes an aggravated robbery. By him not doing that and just passing a note, it becomes a simple robbery, which is a much lesser charge. He's going to be looking at less time because of that. But I thought it was interesting because after the teller provided him with the contents of her cash drawer, he went and did his master escape plan and fled the scene on a bicycle. Maybe plan a little bit better.
Yeah, I would agree. Plan a little bit better.
Last but not least, Massillon police are warning about a new TikTok trend called fencing. Have you heard about this?
I mean, I know the sport of fencing where you fight with swords.
Oh, no. This is not that.
Okay.
That would make a little bit too much sense.
Explain, please.
I didn't know what this was either, but I just saw this. And Massillon police have posted on Facebook to educate the public on a recent new TikTok trend. The trend, which has been called fencing, involves teenagers breaking fences by either running into them or kicking them down.
What?
Yes. The police urge their parents to advise their kids not to participate in the new trend and also say that it's known by another name called the Kool-Aid Man Challenge. Because if you remember the Kool-Aid Man, he was always busting through things.
Oh, yeah! Was that a good impression of the Kool-Aid Man?
It was an impression. I don't
Zoinks! We gotta get out of here, Scoob!
Yeah, it's an impression. I'm not sure if it's a good one. But yeah, so hopefully your kids aren't out there fencing. If you see any holes in your fence now, you know why.
Yes.
Can they find anything stupider to do? That's my question.
Yes, the Tide Pod Challenge.
I don't know. I feel like it's right up there with it. Well, that was a quick version of today's local news so we can get back on time. And now we are going to hit our third and final break. This time you can listen to Persons, Places, and Things do Asking for a Friend. And when we come back, it's time for the Kramer Files. See you on the other side. We will be
right back.
You're listening to Split View, and we will be right back.
I'm telling you, I know. If you ever met you, you wouldn't hurt you, no, anymore. Telling you I know, no, that you don't want to talk about it. I'm just asking for a friend. What you're doing this for? I know it's been real hard for you these past couple weeks. I guess it always has. I know what you're up to, it ain't nothing new. Your friends wanna help, there's not much we can do. But I know if you ever met you, you wouldn't hurt you, no, anymore. I'm telling you I know, no, that you don't want to talk about it. I'm just asking for a friend. What you're doing this for? We left that conversation unfinished a little while back. We both took breaks to take sips to feel better. But if we had all the time in the world, I'd just keep repeating these 10 little words. So here goes. If you ever met you, you wouldn't hurt you, no, anymore. Telling you I know that you don't wanna talk about it, no. I'm just asking for a friend. What you doing this for?
NorthCoastUnderground.com. The Underground starts with you.
Welcome back to Split View with Kramer and Josh. Welcome to the Kramer Files, where each week we pick a different conspiracy and then tear it apart with our split views. Now, with no further ado, let's get to the Kramer File.
Hello and welcome back to Split View.
Mr. Cotter.
To Split, Mr. Cotter. To Split View. For a second there, I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, we used to say that. This is the Kramer Files, and this week I wanted to go a little bit back and talk about Jeffrey Epstein, and more specifically his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because there is a theory going around that there is all kinds of things going on that are meant to distract us from her upcoming trial. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell, brief summary, was the longtime girlfriend of financier and very rich man Jeffrey Epstein, who is also a sicko. He is known now for having owned his own island and done some very bad things on that island. He used to have underage escorts come over and do illegal things with them, and that's why he got himself in trouble. And the issue was that because he was so rich and famous and well-known, a lot of his friends were other rich and famous and well-known people. And there's connections and pictures of him with people like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, all of them say, oh, I just met him one time and it was brief. But there's a lot of conspiracies around who he might have known and what all other people might have done with him. And because of this, there's this thought that maybe they want to kind of quiet up the trial now that his girlfriend is going on trial. And they point to Kyle Rittenhouse and the fact that that trial just happened and that he was found innocent, which is obviously creating a lot of tension.
Makes sense.
The attack on the Christmas parade that was resulting from that, the supply chain issues that are currently an issue as inflation continues to rise and it's getting harder and harder to find some basic goods in stores, and of course the continued issues of COVID-19. And the theory basically says that the reason all of this is happening at once is that there's this attempt to distract everybody from what's really going on. And Ghislaine Maxwell actually made a claim herself that goes all the way back to April. And at the time, she said that the federal indictment that was put against her was incredibly weak. And the fact of the timing of the federal indictment showed the weakness. During documents that she filed in federal court, she argued that the prosecutors could have brought these charges at any point, and the fact that they waited until 3 months before they're expected to go to trial shows the weakness of their case. Since then, federal prosecutors have retorted that it would make no sense for the government to spend weeks preparing the more than 200-page response to the motions if it could have instead just obtained a new indictment, and blasting these allegations as conspiracy theories. And all of this kind of brings me back to the original conspiracy theory. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a brief period of time where you could not look on Facebook without people saying something along the lines of Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was a huge deal for a couple weeks. And it's kind of just been forgotten since then, or at least we've all stopped talking about it. And this whole situation is just rife with conspiracy theories. But the one that always bothered me the most was the actual death of her boyfriend, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this guy was being held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City, a federal holding center, very protected place. He ends up supposedly committing suicide. Now, when he committed this suicide, it would have been the first successful suicide in this jail in over 15 years. And the reason is because this jail is supposed to have a policy of having officers do bed checks every 15 minutes. That was not done this night. Nobody checked on this guy. He was killed, or possibly killed, because he was moved into a new cell. Like, the night before, he had actually been in an isolation cell and put on suicide watch. He was taken out of this cell for unknown reasons, put in with a new cellmate, and the next day just happens to show up as a suicide, supposedly hanging himself. Also, there were pictures taken from inside the cell that show that there were upright bottles of medicine and books on the top bunk where he supposedly hung himself, which common sense goes to tell you that if he had done that, things would have gotten knocked over.
Right, and that there would have been some type of rope or something.
Yeah, and there would have been a struggle. Basically, just the scene did not look right.
Yeah, I'm listening to this, and yeah, the pieces are not coming together to form a picture.
The eventual removal of Epstein's body from his cell was also cited as a violation of protocol, as the Bureau of Prisons in New York mandates that the suicide scene be treated with the same level of protection as any crime scene in which a death occurred. And it was very odd because they moved his body right after, and there was no investigation of the situation. Consequently, prison personnel also failed to photograph Epstein's body as soon as it was found, so we don't know exactly how the body was found. Some of the other discrepancies go on to say that Epstein, who was almost 6 feet tall and weighed 185 pounds, would have had a very hard time hanging himself from where he supposedly did. The upright medicine bottles and books and whatnot that I already mentioned. And he also questioned, the conspiracy theorists questioned why Epstein would not use other materials that was available in his cell, where he had wires and tubing because he had a sleep apnea machine in his cell. These would have been a lot easier to use. They would have been stronger. So just the whole thing makes no sense.
Yeah, the whole thing is smelling of, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
And the thought behind it was that with all these famous people that Jeffrey Epstein may have been able to point the finger at, maybe somebody wanted him to be quiet. Because he had actually entered into a plea deal, and he was going to admit to his guilt. But as a part of admitting to his guilt, he was going to have to make a full account in open court, and there were going to be some uncomfortable questions about some of the people he knew.
Makes sense.
So there's a thought that, maybe some of these people who are high up in power and have the ability to reach out and touch people anywhere had something to do with this. And it also makes you kind of look and wonder what's going to happen with Ghislaine Maxwell. I think there was a lot of fear that maybe something similar would happen, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think, even if this is something that was done to Jeffrey Epstein, I don't think they would do the same thing, because it would just be even more obvious, right?
Right.
If the same thing happens to her, it's just going to be like, well, you're making it too obvious. But it does kind of fit back into this idea that maybe all these other things that are getting blown up so much, that are in the news nonstop, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and everything, that we're supposed to be focused on this to not pay attention to what's going on with Ghislaine's trial. And I bring this up specifically now because I want us to try to do the opposite of that. If that's what they're trying to get us to do, let's specifically pay attention to what's happening in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial.
I like that.
So as that continues to go on, I think we'll continue to look at that case and continue to follow it over the next couple weeks and just kind of try to see where this one might go. Usually when we talk about conspiracy theories and things going on, it's stuff that happened like far in the past. And this is different because it's something that's going on right now and we can continue to follow it.
Correct. I agree with you on that.
So that's my plan on this one.
Sounds good to me.
That's it for this week's edition of the Kramer File, and that is pretty much it for this week's edition of Split View. Josh, do you have anything else before we head on out?
Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was Sorry if we got into the emotion realm a little bit too much for you, but
I think it made for a good show.
I think so too. And have a happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely have a good Thanksgiving. Be careful. Don't drink and drive. If you're going to get blotto and stay at home. I mean, I got no problem with people partying. Just don't put anybody else at danger.
Correct.
And enjoy it. Try not to get COVID as best as you can. And we will reconvene next week.
On the way out the door, I'm going to play one more local band, As Nations Rage, with their song Swan Song.
And we will be back next week. Until then,
I'm Josh.
And I'm Kramer. See ya.
See ya. I wasn't sure.
Mama, no one kills no more. Listen, she's a moaning like a whore. See her breaking all apart in her black and furnace heart. I believe this is real, and I'm scared. I'm afraid that it's over now. She is weary of a picture, and I swear it's not just something that's in my head. I'm afraid that we made our bed, and she's eating her young now. Buckle up and hunker down. Turn that smile into a frown. Had our chance time after time. It's not all good, it won't be fine. I wanna believe it's not